In today's Wednesday class, we are going to work with our lymph systems. And I just want you to think about this. You have 2,500 kilometers of lymph channels in your body, and you have 2 liters of lymph moving through that system. Okay, and it moves through all the tissues in your body. You probably know about the lymph nodes in your neck because a lot of times we can tell we have a cold or something from those lymph nodes. You also have quite a few lymph nodes you may feel in your groins. You also have a lot of lymph nodes in your abdomen. Lymph nodes, the cancer doctor we work with in my training says are the little train stations where the lymph gets cleaned out every time it goes through. So it's part of your immune system. Other places talk about the lymph nodes as the drains. And if the drains get plugged, then you develop lymphedema. Somebody asked me in class on Monday, what are some different reasons for lymphedema, which is where you have pooling of the lymph fluids? And it can arise from infection. So a lot of times when people go in to do surgeries, like a cancer surgery, they may end up taking out some lymph nodes. That surgery area could get infected and then fluid could pool around it. There are other reasons would be from surgeries, from scar tissues, from constriction, that the fluids would pool. So we want to avoid that. But the lymph system doesn't have a heart. It doesn't have a pump. So we have to pump the tissues of our body to get that lymph moving through. And that's what we're going to do in our Pilates class today. So everybody come to standing and we will start pumping our lymph. Okay, so come on up and let's begin, like Linda requested, with some arm work. So go ahead and shake your hands. Don't need this light on anymore. Shake your hands. And as you shake today, think of not only opening those little doorways in your finger joints, but actually think of these, yeah. Oh, weird. I muted everyone and it muted me. Sorry. Okay. All right. So come up to standing. Shoot, I don't know what I just said, other than I needed to turn off my light. Shake your hands. Don't just think of opening the little joints between the bones. Think of the fluid traveling through these tiny passages in your hands. And you're shaking it to get it moving. Shake it up and shake it up overhead. And then stretch your hands wide and fist them. And stretch them and fist them. And bend your knees as you fist and stretch the whole body as you stretch your hands. Stretch. Stretch through each finger. Really try to get that tissue stretched open because in doing so, you're also inviting that lymph fluid to flow through. When we keep our hands overhead, the lymph drains down our arms towards those lymph nodes to get cleansed. So we move. Now let your arms come down to the sides like wings, and then inhale, lift them up. Exhale, draw right down through the center channel, bend your knees. Inhale, reach. Exhale, bend. Inhale, reach. Exhale, bend. And keep going. Warming up the body. Now as we bend the knees, we can come lower. We get the quads in action. And then let's come down, bent knees, and open the arms into a T. And let's turn the left palm up, right thumb down, and switch. Remember, your arms could be lower if being up high is hard on your shoulders. You're still getting a little rotation in those arm bones. Good, Mom. Or you could have your arms up to parallel, wherever. Experiment a little in your body. Where is it comfortable? Your knees are still bent, but you're kind of swaying a little bit. And then release the arms and let them swing. So we're getting things moving. Your knees are still bent. We're warming up our quads by working them. And then inhale, lift your arms. Keep the knees bent. It's kind of an Utkatasana. And now open your arms into Gopus. And bring the pinkies together. And open the palms wide. Now, as we do this, feel how you're pulsing this area where the lymph nodes is near your armpits. We're warming that area up. Feel into how you can cat curl and stretch the tissue in the back body, inviting the lymph to move. 2,500 kilometers of lymph passages in your tissues. We invite the lymph to move. And now open the arms and lift up again like you're lifting a large tray towards the sky. Stretch your fingers wide and release your arms. And roll one shoulder and stretch it out to the side and the other. So you're stretching diagonally across the body. Sway from side to side. And feel how you're also stretching the tissues even in the feet as you weight one foot and point the other. And then let your elbows circle. So we're inviting this tissue to open up as we dynamically stretch at the beginning of class. And then we let the arms swing wide. Side to side, reach. And then come back in, step the feet together. And bring your left ear towards your right shoulder. Opening up this side of the neck. Also, we have lymph nodes in the neck, so this is good, Katie. Bring the palm up, thumb back. And if you'd like to, turn gently to look over your left shoulder. You can even nod the head yes a little bit to find the stretch that's best for you. From the head of the arm bone, you could stretch open the side tissue of your chest. Really breathing into that side tissue. You can even bring a hand up and massage into the outer edge of your armpit, your pec minor. Up onto your shoulder and neck. Recognizing the tissue. And then release back up to standing. Take the right ear towards the right shoulder. Remember, it doesn't have to be far. Those of you with osteoporosis, we don't want to compress vertebrae to vertebrae. Keep the right side long. Lift the left palm, take the thumb back. If you'd like to, turn to gently look over your right shoulder. Now come into your breath here. Inhale into any tight tissue. Exhale, try to relax it open. As you relax it open, think of that fluid moving in the tissue. And then bring your hand up and massage in the inner armpit. Bring the hand up over the shoulder and to the neck to massage. We're inviting the fluids to move. And then release. And let your head bobble a moment. And then draw a circle with the nose. One direction. Inviting a release in the tissues around the base of the skull. Take your nose the other way. Good. Little upper body awareness building. Let's lift up our hand weights. And let's come up to one edge of the mat. If any of you want to put on your circle TheraBand, you can. Bend your knees. And inhale, open. And exhale, closed. And step across your space. Inhaling, open. Exhaling, closed. Stepping. You can make it more dynamic, more work if you bend into the knees. Don't bend so hard you hurt the knee joints. Try not to collapse in your wrists. Keep your wrists strong. Getting the tissues moving. Feel how you're stretching open that chest tissue around those lymph nodes when you open the arms, and then you're compressing it as you close the arms. This helps us to move the fluid through the nodes. Come back to center and reach the arms skywards to straighten the legs. Bend the knees, bend the arms, and reach and bend. reach and bend. Perhaps reach up onto the toes and bend. Reach and bend. Stretching the feet. Good. One more. Reach and bend. Draw your palms together. Open, lift the heart. Cat curl the spine slightly. Draw the hands together. Lift and close and lift and close and open and press. And snow angel your wings down, and snow angel your wings up and down and up and down and up. Take your right toe out, and as you come up, perhaps lift the right leg, standing firm on the standing leg, inhaling up and exhaling down. Feel how you're pulsing your tissues to get the water to flow through the body. And come back down, take the left toes out and lift and release. Stretch open and release. Follow your breath. Inhaling, fill three-dimensionally. Exhale. Pulse. And one more. Good. And bring the arms down and circle them forward, little circles. And circle them forward and up. Tailbone grounds, let the arms circle up and up and up and up. Circle them at the top. Broaden the shoulder girdle, letting that lymph flow downhill. Circle the other way and circle the arms down wide. Good. Step the feet wide and stretch one shoulder and then the other. Take the elbow back, adding a little weight to this side-to-side stretch. Now, can you stay aware of your central axis as you open the arm? Stretching side to side. And then come back into center and pause. Let the hand weights just draw the arms away from the shoulders. So something that can help that kind of neck tension is coming, let's try it with a chair this time or a piece of furniture, maybe a wall, where you come one hand supported on the chair, the other arm just dangling, and let it circle. Let your head and neck be in a long line. And really try to release into the weight of the hand weight. So the joints open. It's more subtle, but the tissue is moving. Try to let go into the circle. And then take the circle the other way. We're just inviting the tissue to stretch open. You may lift your shoulder a little bit and see, does that stretch me differently? So be willing to play a little with the exercises. And then let's come up and roll the shoulders. Feel for any difference side to side. And then try the other side. Circle the hand one direction. Really try to release into the hand weight. So when we do both arms at the same time, I think sometimes we may gather some energy around the neck. So I'm having you do one at a time today, because Katie had the request of letting tension go out of her neck. So really let the hand weight dangle. Try to really let it stretch the tissue of the arm down towards earth. And then maybe lift the shoulder, but still let the hand weight stretch you down towards earth, and then lower back to neutral. Circle the other way. Fluid breath. Good. And release back to standing and roll your shoulders. Okay, let's put down the hand weights and pick up our TheraBand, the long one. And let's do a little bit more arm work before we go to the floor. Left hand, right hand to the hip, left palm forward. Inhale, open your arm. Feel for the strength of the back left shoulder, the line from the left shoulder to the right hip down into the right heel. Let your hyoid bone rest back and your spine be long. and then release the left arm forward and pulse it open, and forward and pulse it open. And one more time, forward, pulse it open and pause. Broaden across the shoulder girdle. Rest the head back. Feel how even as you're working the tissue of the left arm, you have the hand higher than the shoulder. You're allowing the lymph to drain. Take a few three-dimensional breaths here, expanding into the whole rib cage. And then exhale, release. Take the other hand forward. As you're ready, lift and open and pause. Connect the right shoulder to the left buttock to the left heel. Connect the left shoulder to the right buttock to the right heel. Feel into that strength. Breathe up the length of the spine. Make sure your neck isn't jutting your chin forward. And lower the right hand forward and lift it up. And lower it forward and lift it up. We're pulsing now in that armpit, getting the lymph to flow through those lymph nodes. Open up again, broad across your shoulder girdle. Even as we're working, we're inviting the lymph to drain from the lifted hand down the arm into the chest. And release. Let's take the TheraBand up overhead and let's work a little bit now with the groin. Take your TheraBand long and lift to one toe and step down. Lift to the other toe and step down. Reach tall into the TheraBand. So here we lengthen the neck and relax the shoulders. Relax the hands into the hug of gravity and let that traction help us lengthen into the TheraBand. Now lift one knee and release. Lift and release. And notice how, oh, now you're pumping the lymph nodes in the groins. Lifting and releasing, lifting and releasing. Think of that 2,500 kilometers worth of fluid network that doesn't have a pump. So now you are physically pumping it. Pumping. So you're compressing and releasing in the groins, in those lymph nodes of the groins. Now let's add to that. Lift to a toe, you can stay there, or lift the knee and open the knee out to the side and draw it to the middle and open and middle. Remember, you could do it here on a very light toe and still work on your balance, or you can do it with the lifted knee. Long spine up into the TheraBand, relaxed shoulders. Beautiful. And step down, come to the other toe, lift the knee. And if you'd like, open and close, or lower the toe, keep the toe light and open the knee and close. See how either way, you're still opening and stretching that groin area, and then you're compressing it, opening it and compressing it, opening it and compressing it, and step down and roll your shoulders. Great. Okay, let's come to the floor with our ball blocker, OOV, and our TheraBands. And today, if you have a bolster, bring your bolster. Okay. So, lying on our backs, let's come into the breath. So that was a good moving start to our practice. Line up your heels with your sit bones. Rest your arms to your sides, palms up. Arms far enough away from the body that you can breathe into the whole circumference of your lowest ribs. Invite in a three-dimensional breath and exhale, relax. As you relax, let the front body rest onto the back body. Let the bones settle towards the floor. Breathe into the low back, into the side waists, into the front belly, into the whole circumference of this abdomen. Now, as you breathe like this, feel the tissue moving. There are lots of lymph nodes in our abdomen. Your breath can move this tissue subtly. Think of it as a wind blowing over the surface of a lake. Ripple the water in your body. Okay, right here, let's inhale the arms up. And let's leave the arms up while we come into a little bit of our leg work so the lymph can drain from the arms. Exhale, one leg into tabletop. Those of you who need a blanket under your sacrum, you can put it there. And then float the foot back down. Exhale, the next leg up and inhale it down. Exhale and inhale. Exhale and inhale. Now exhale, one leg up, pause. Activate your core, keep your lumbar curve, and exhale the other leg up. And toe dip the right foot towards the floor and exhale it up. Inhale it down the next leg and exhale up. Keep going with your own breath. Shoulder girdle's broad, but hands are lifted, so we're draining our lymph. We're also pumping the lymph at the groins. Pretty cool, huh? Now come up with your legs and hug them towards midline. Take the left leg out to the left, keeping the rest of the body still, and exhale back to center. Right leg out to the right, and exhale back to center. Keep going side to side, trying to keep the rest of the body still. Remember, it's not how wide open you can get the leg, it's how still you can keep your body while the leg opens. And when you start to feel like, uh-oh, I'm kind of falling to that side, you've gone too far. Find the place where you're stable and then try to slowly keep expanding that. Now bring your feet back together, open your knees as wide as your armpits and toe dip. The right foot past the left and then bring the right knee up towards the shoulder. And toe dip the same side, right foot past and bring the knee towards the shoulder. And notice how you're really kind of pumping in that right groin as you toe dip right toe. Bring the knee all the way towards the shoulder. One more. Come back up heel to heel and toe dip the left foot at this angle. Remember, your heels are together. Your knee opens towards the shoulder. You're simultaneously strengthening your hip flexors, your psoas, and pumping the lymph and releasing the lymph from your hands. Notice if your fingers are getting tingly or a little cooler. And then bring your heels back together. Close the knees, hug the midline. Hug your glutes into the bone, really hug the midline. And bring your hands down onto your femur bones, fingers up by the knees. Press into the femurs as you pull the femurs towards your chest. Press and pull. Still, your hands are in a little bit of an angle up. Your core is activating. Remember, we don't go to 110%. We keep open across the shoulder girdle. We press and we sustain, keeping our lumbar curve in neutral. And then hug the knees in and circle them wide and back together again. Moving the fluids in the groins. Take your circles the other way. Now, hug your right knee into your chest and extend the left leg long on the mat. And then switch. Hug the left leg in, right leg long. And switch. And switch. Stretching and compressing in the groins. It's like wringing out a dish rag. Stay with your breath. Find a pattern. And then come back up and float one foot to the floor and then the next. Reach for your ball. If you have a pillow in, press it out and place the ball under your pelvis. Let your arms rest wide, palms up, shoulder girdle broad. and float one leg to tabletop and the other to join it and lift your feet straight up. Imagine a tennis ball between your big toes. Zip from inner thighs to heels, really zip. Even the outer legs help press the inner leg together. And then open the feet. Take the heels down the mat. Bring the heels together and up. So even here, notice now the legs are above the pelvis. We're allowing the lymph to drain. Point your toes. Really stretch the fronts of your feet. And then flex your feet. Reach the heels skyward. And notice how this stretches different tissue in the legs. Point the feet, really point the toes. Not so hard that you get cramps, but try to really work it a little bit to stretch the fascia, open the tissue, flex the feet, reach the heel. And now go down the midline and open at the bottom and come back up. Shoulders relaxed broad, neck in its natural cervical curve. And one more. And then take the right foot overhead, left foot long, and pulse, pulse, and switch. Pulse, 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 and go right into your bicycle. So for full benefit to the lymph system, we want to keep the limbs that we're draining over their lymph nodes for 5 to 10 minutes. So we keep the legs up, we keep them moving. Moving tissue pumps the lymph, but we're also having a gravity assist. So you can flex and point your feet, stretching the tissue of the feet open, spread the toes, and then point them. Now take your bicycles backwards. At first, point the toes and flip water like you were reaching your foot through water, flip it overhead. And then try flexing the feet into your backwards bicycle. Notice tissue throughout the body may being stretched. You might feel it even in your low back and your buttocks. And reach the feet back up. Rest the knees in towards your chest and relax. Come back to your fluid three-dimensional breath. Feeling the whole circle of the lowest ribs, expanding it. And relaxing. Notice if tissue in the abdomen works, moves as you breathe. And then float one foot to the floor and then the other. Pausing in your bridge, stretch one leg or both legs out over your prop, depending on your spine. Now take a few fluid breaths here, allowing the psoas pathway to open. Those of you on a ball, you can sway your hips gently side to side. This can help you stretch through from the inner groins up the spine. Try to relax into the stretch. And then coming back to center, step the feet in, lift up off your ball, and release. Okay, we are going to do a little bit of sideline leg work. Those of you who don't want to sideline, come up to standing, that's fine. You can put your blanket across as a pillow. Remember, you could also double it and have your arm perpendicular to your body. I'm going to try that today. Your heels align with your sit bones, your spine is long. And lift your feet and open the knees and close. So now notice, think about the draining passageway down the legs from the feet. But this groin is pumping as you lift one knee. So my feet are lifted up, Mom, so they're not lying on the floor. The feet are as high as they'll go. And then you open and close the knee. These are really good outer hip strengtheners. Let's do just a couple more, pulsing in that buttock. And then open the legs long in that same angle that your femur was in. And float the foot up and float it down. Remember, The top hand can be right in front of the core, and you want to activate that lower side body. Don't just slump into the floor. Feel how you're pumping the tissue in the leg. Now point the toe and draw little circles. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Lengthen the leg down the mat and draw the same circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Switch the circle. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Foot over foot and circle. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Now, draw a line up the inseam of the leg, lift the foot, flex the foot, spread the toes, lower the heel. Point the toe, draw, lift, flex, and lower. Draw, lift, flex, and lower. One more. Draw, lift, flex, and lower. Good. Bring the foot over the foot, draw the heel down the mat, point the toe and kick forward. Draw and kick, draw and kick, draw and kick, and draw and kick. Come back foot over foot, and let's come up for a little side plank before we switch sides. So you choose how far you want to go with this. The first version is to rainbow up with the pelvis on the floor. Stretch the upper body over it and take a few breaths deep into this upper body tissue. Lift with the underside. And you could stay with these rainbows, or on this next rainbow, you could lift the hip and rely on your shin. Bring the arm up overhead and stretch. Let that shoulder tissue stretch all the way to the fingertips. Now, staying with the body lifted wherever it is, just bring the arm back, hand towards the hip. And then bring the arm overhead again. Now we're working that lymph in the armpit again. One more time. And come up, hand raised towards the sky. You can stay here or come foot perpendicular to the body and lift in that side plank, or balance one foot over the other. Wiggle the fingers of the lifted hand. Invite the lymph to drain down that arm, back into the chest. All while we're strengthening the lower side body and the bones, and release. Okay, let's take it to the other side for our side lying legs. Knees bent, heels aligned with your sit bones. Lift the feet. Top hand planted in front of the core so that your core becomes active. Open the knees and close the knees. And inhale and exhale. Today, imagine right now as you're moving these 2,500 kilometers of fluid passageways filled with 2 liters of lymph moving through your body. Visualize it glowing and the pulsing of your leg moving the lymph. Isn't that cool? And now straighten the legs in the same line as your femur and float the foot up and float it down. Stay strong in this underside body. Stay strong in your abdominal core. My hope is at the end of class we feel like, I have stretched or moved most of the tissues in my body today. And then point your foot and draw a circle. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Take the foot down the mat, same direction. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Circle the other way. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Bring the foot over the foot. Same way. 2, 3, 4, and 5. Draw your line up the inseam of the leg. Keep the knee open. Lift, flex, and lower the heel. Draw, lift, flex, and lower. Draw, lift, flex, and lower. Now point and lift. Bend and draw. Lift, bend, and draw. Lift, bend, and draw. Bring foot over foot. Draw the heel down the mat. Really lengthen both side bodies. Point the toe and kick forward. Flex and draw back. So start to feel how we really want to stretch all the way into the feet. So the whole fascial network stretches. The tissue opens, the fluid moves. And last one. Okay, let's come into this side plank. Make sure that your shoulder isn't tucked in too close to your hip, your elbow. You want it under your shoulder or forward towards the top of your head. And with your hips still on the floor, rainbow the top arm over and pause. Lifting with the underbody, breathe into the upper body. I like people to start here in the subtlest version because I want you to really feel for that lift of the underside of the body and get to know it. Feel it in the armpit, through the rib cage, along that lower side of the spine. And take a few fluid breaths into the upper side body. And then come down. You can stay with that position, or you can float up and come into the lifted rainbow and float back down. And inhale and exhale and inhale and exhale. Now this time as you inhale up, pause with the hips lifted if you're lifting them, and exhale the hand back to the hip. And inhale the arm up over and exhale it back to the hip. Keep that underside body strong as you pump the lymph in the upper armpit. One more. And then you can stay here with the hand lifted, or straighten the bottom leg, step the top leg over and lift into your side plank, or stack your feet. Wiggle the top fingers, inviting that lymph to flow down the arm into the armpit. Ah, yes, our lymph is going to be very cleansed at the end of class today. And release. Okay, let's do one more thing on our backs here. Lying back down. If you need a pillow, have that under your head. And reach for your long TheraBand. Bring your long TheraBand up over your left foot. And pendulum, the left foot, heel towards floor and foot towards sky. Pulsing in the groins again. And come back up and lengthen the right leg out on the mat if that's comfortable to you. Broad shoulders, sacrum grounded. Take your left foot across to the right side of the body, down towards the heel, up and around. So you're drawing a circle. It could be small or it could be larger. If it doesn't feel good to lie down, you could do something similar standing with your hand on a wall. Circle. Feel how the femur bone moves in that hip socket, how you're stretching the tissue around the femur bone in the pelvis. Pause at the top, take your circles the other way. Really ground the opposite side body. But try to concentrate on how you're stretching the tissue in the legs, all while you allow the lymph to drain. One more. And then come back to the top and let's switch feet. First, we pendulum. This helps us get synovial fluid going in the hip joint. Those little synovial glands get compressed by the femur bone and they squirt out synovial fluid. You're like you have your own built-in oil can. Tin Woodsman would be so impressed. Come back up, lengthen the left leg out, take the right foot across to the left, heel down towards the foot of the mat, right foot out to the side, and just circle. Can the left shoulder and left pelvis ground? Left heel, left low ribs. Feel for the stretching in the hips. Come to the top and circle the other way. Yeah. And then come to the top. Lift the other foot up into the TheraBand. Take the feet wide in the TheraBand and let them stretch it open and pulse towards each other. Just bouncing a little bit side to side, bouncing a little. And that bouncing with the feet lifted invites the lymph to flow back down. Now reach up and create stirrups by taking the center of your TheraBand down towards your belly and draw your knees in towards the outer shoulders. And rock yourself back and forth across your sacrum. Compressing in the groins now. Good. And if your TheraBand's long enough, you can stretch your stirrups up, let your hands lengthen, and then draw the knees back down and stretch and draw, Katie. Yep, that's good. Stretch and draw back in and stretch out and draw back in, pulsing the legs, pulsing in the groins, and come back out, come back in, and release your feet from the TheraBand. Bring them back to the floor. Press your blanket out and lift your pelvis into a bridge. Hug your sit bones towards one another. Lengthen your tailbone towards the backs of the knees. Take a few fluid, three-dimensional breaths. Feel for where the breath moves the tissue in your abdomen. Picture these passageways of lymph flowing into their lymph nodes to get cleansed. You're still hugging your sit bones towards each other, waking up those glutes, kind of compressing those muscles into the bone. Now release the glutes and roll down one vertebrae at a time, or lower your pelvis straight down. Inhale into your natural lumbar curve and exhale, tailbone towards sky, roll up or lift the pelvis. And exhale the movements. Inhale into the rest. Exhale the movements. Inhale into the stopping place. Keep going with your own breath. Remember, part of the purpose of rolling the spine is to get each vertebrae to move uniquely away from the other, so they don't move in blocks. Picture that fluid movement of your spine. Visualize it, one vertebrae at a time, lifting off like beads on a necklace. And then go to the top again and lift the right hip a little higher than the left. Notice how as you do that, you're stretching the right groin, and then switch across to the other side and pulse side to side. We're also stretching the psoas pathway open after all that front hip flexor work. Balancing the body. Strengthening the back of the core. Come back to neutral and lower the pelvis to the floor. Hug your knees in and circle them together from around the perimeter of the sacrum. Give yourself a little sacrum massage. But also notice how you compress the abdomen as you draw the knees towards the chest. This compression also helps move the fluids of the body. Take your circles the other way. Enjoy the SI joint massage and the abdominal massage. And then come back to center and release one foot and then the other and roll yourselves over and either bring in your bolster or a pile of 2 blankets and lay your torso on top of it with your block under the forehead. And once you get yourself comfortable in this kind of pre-sphinx pose, hands can be around the block, elbows under the shoulders. Reach your tailbone for your heels. And then lift the head, reach the back of the skull away from the shoulders. And draw the arms isometrically back towards the chest, lift the heart through. Reach the tailbone for the heels. Perhaps the feet float off. You can take your arms wider, fingertips to the floor. Press gently into the fingertips. Those of you who are careful with back bends, think of length over bend, lengthening from head to tailbone. If it's comfortable for you, lift the heels, lift the head, lift the shoulders into a back bend, a bow pose. Lifting up, stretching the front abdomen. Good. And then exhale, release back down. Bring your hands by your hips, palms down. And inhale, float up. Make sure your shoulder blades are on your back, the heads of your arm bones lifted. Lifting heels, reach the heels away from the base of the skull. Breathe into the abdomen now. Feel the breath. Massage inside the abdomen. Picture those miles of passageways with lymph moving through them. Now you can stay here or bring your arms out like wings and exhale. Lower your right fingertips to the floor, lifting the left, and then twist. Lift the right and lower the left and twist back and forth. Strengthening the back body, keep the shoulder blades on the back. Notice what tissue is working hard. Come back to center and release, forehead to your block. And let the forehead rest on the block right between the eyebrows and roll over one eyebrow and then the other. And then roll the center of the forehead side to side. Maybe you can even tuck the chin in a little and roll the top of the forehead. If we can relax these muscles at the front of the head and face, sometimes other muscles will follow suit. Roll back down towards your eyebrows. And release from the block. Roll back into a supported child's pose. So in a supported child's here, we are compressing the groins again. Breathe deep into the abdomen. Feel the pressure of the bolster against the abdomen. Fluid, three-dimensional breath. Let the breath move the fluid tissue now. Imagine someone's hands warm on your low back and breathe into those hands. Relax away from the hands. Invite the tissue in the lower back to warm, to fill with breath, so the breath can move the waters of the body. And then lift up off your bolster and come onto hands and knees. Hands and knees, take the left fingertips forward, the right toes back. And some people call this bird dog pose. Izzy's come in for a little assistance. Lift your fingers and your toes to parallel with the floor, your arm and your leg, and just pause there. Breathe three-dimensionally into the torso. Broad across your shoulder girdle, long neck. Lower the fingers, lower the toes, and lift. And lower and lift. Lower and lift and lower and lift. Then bring your elbow towards your knee and stretch back out. Elbow towards knee and stretch back out. Elbow towards knee and stretch back out and hold. I have this little puppy laying under me looking at me like, it would be much more fun to pet your dog. And then release and inhale a cow and exhale a cat. And allow yourself to flow through. And if your shoulders have tension in them, really concentrate on letting the shoulders broaden, the neck lengthen in your cow. And as you curl into cat, really let go the head to help traction the neck. Use your breath to inhale length and space along the spine. Notice what tissues of your body are getting stretched and released. And come back to your neutral. And take out the right fingertips and left toes. And float them up and pause. Long neck. Broad across your shoulders. Let the shoulders relax away from the ears. Touch fingers and toes to the floor and lift. And lower and lift. Lower and lift. Lower and lift and lower and lift. Elbow to knee and stretch. Pulse in, contracting and expanding. Pushing the fluid through the tissue. And then pause long and release. And inhale your cow. And exhale your cat. Pause in the cat position and take your sit bones towards your heels, stretching the low back and coming back to the breath in the back body. Try to stretch the tissue a little more. Massage it open with the breath. And then hands at least shoulder distance wide. Every finger pad active. Middle knuckles lifting. Lift up into your bent knee downward dog. Stretch from your hands to your sit bones. Lengthen your spine and your side bodies. And then straightening the legs. Take the groins back. You can stay here in your downward dog or keep your pelvis stable and lift one foot behind you. Try to stay even in the weight on your shoulders and arms. This might mean broadening the shoulders. Lift the head a little above the arms. Let the neck lengthen. Release the lifted foot if you lifted one and lift the other side. If you're not lifting, you're still doing great upper body work, just standing in the downward dog. Fluid breath, long spine. And then step back down and walk your feet in towards your hands and come into standing child's pose, knees really bent. Some of you may want blocks under your hands, but try to bring your belly onto your femurs. Those of you who can open into an uttanasana, lift your sit bones and let the head dangle towards the floor. Fluid breath wherever you are into the belly. The compression and the breath can invite the fluid to move. And then bend your knees a little and inhale, arms out to the sides, raise them up overhead. Exhale, hands down through the heart. Inhale, opening for your sun or rain or snow breath. Inhaling and exhaling. Let's pause with our arms to our sides again and lower the left ear towards the left shoulder, taking the right palm up. Bring the right thumb back again and turn your gaze to look over the right shoulder. On each exhale, relax the shoulder away from the ear. Maybe you turn the head a little more, maybe you nod the head yes. You find where the stretch is best for you. Maybe it's best in the side bend without the turn. Maybe you want your head faced forward and you want to turn your eyes to look up at the sky to stretch your eyeballs. And then come back to neutral, lift back up, waggle the body a little. And then lengthen up before you take the right ear to the right shoulder, lifting the left palm, taking the thumb and the head of the arm bone back so you stretch the chest tissue. Relax the arm into the hug of gravity. If you want to, turn to look over your right shoulder. Take your time and breathe into where you find the stretches. Maybe the best stretch was with the gaze ahead. Maybe you want to look up out of the corners of your eyes and stretch your eyeballs. Stretch the muscles attaching your eyeballs, I guess. And then release your gaze. Release and roll your shoulders. And let's step wide and roll one shoulder leaning to that side and then the other. Just notice, is there a different quality to the body now as we open the elbows and we open the arms? And then let's stretch. If you can interlace your fingers, do. If it feels more comfortable to lift up your TheraBand and hold that, do. Reach your palms towards the sky. Come up onto the balls of your feet. Really stretch skyward. Lift, 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 lift. Even the low back rib ring, lift. Keep the length in your side bodies as you release your arms. And then let your arms swing. And bring your hands up to your neck and massage the shoulder and the back of the neck, shoulders. And release the arms and take the left arm across to the right side body. Hold on to it below the elbow. And with the right hand, draw the left hand across. Resist that with the left shoulder, drawing back towards the left. Stretch this arm tissue open in the upper arm. And release. Bring the other arm across. Stretch. Draw back with the right shoulder. Stretch the arm, draw back. Let it be a little bit of a tug of war, a tug of love. Notice if your feet are curled into the floor, relax the soles of the feet to give you a little bit more grounding. And then release. Lift up your TheraBand and take it behind your back, or interlace your fingers, palms facing each other. Open across the shoulder girdle. Lift the heart. Lift the hands away from the sacrum and breathe into the front chest. So you can do this with your hands clasped if that's comfortable, or hold your TheraBand like this and take it back. Make sure wherever you are, you can broaden across the collarbones and take the head of the arm bones back. Fluid breath into the chest, lengthen the neck out of it. Bend your knees. And if you'd like to, hinge forward. Lift the hands up behind you overhead. Those of you who can hinge at the hips and lift your sit bones, come into your Uttanasana again and let the hands come overhead. Breathe deep into the torso. Wherever you are in the stretch, breathe deep into the shoulders. Relax the neck. And then unhinge. And let's step our heels together. Pause with the arms in a gentle circle, palms facing one another, and lift to your toes. And lower the heels and lift, and lower and lift, and lower. Bend the knees, lift the heels, zip it up. Lower heels, bend the knees, lift the heels, zip it up. Lower heels, lift the heels, bend the knees, lower heels, zip it up. Lift, bend, lower and zip and lift, bend, lower and zip. And inhale. Draw in a slow and gentle breath all the way down through the body. Imagine these glowing lymph passages. Inhale into your good health and your immune system's ability to move this fluid through your body. One more deep inhale for your well-being and through you, the well-being of our planet. Thank you. All right. How'd that go? Good. Thumbs up, George. Thank you. Good, Kathy. Yeah.